I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is love your neighbor as yourself. So this is one of the most important Christian principles according to Jesus himself. And I think there is a spiritual truth to this pronouncement that is often overlooked. But before I get into it, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It takes less than a second, costs you nothing, and it's how you can support me in my mission to deliver free, high-quality content to the world. Thanks for your help. Now, I think that this pronouncement, love your neighbor as yourself, is usually interpreted as a commandment. This is kind of the golden rule, the new way of doing things that takes precedence over the old way of doing things, the reduction of the 10 commandments of the Old Testament into the single commandment of the New. The idea here is that this is something people should and ought to do, and certainly you can see it from that angle. However, I think there's another way of looking at this particular verse, namely as an observation of a high spiritual reality. To make this plainer to see, we simply need to include the implied subject. When we do so, the commandment becomes an observation. You love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I think there is a real spiritual truth to this, that as you love yourself, you love your neighbor. And as you love your neighbor, you love yourself. The two things are intimately connected. And I think this makes sense coming from Jesus, because way behind the scenes and from a very high spiritual perspective, the other is yourself. It's hard to see this in our everyday consciousness. However, at a very high level, you are your neighbor, and your neighbor is you. And so we really shouldn't expect a difference in how we love ourselves and how we love our neighbors. This understanding also suggests a corollary, that we can only love others to the extent that we love ourselves, that it's not possible to love another person in a manner or extent beyond which we are capable of loving ourselves. And this makes sense from a psychological perspective. When we are not treated how we would like to be treated by important others, there's a tendency in our nature to believe that this is due to some failing on our part. And these negative internalizations can long outlive the relationship that produced them. However, it's important to understand that how we were treated by others was a reflection of how these others felt about themselves. In that moment, you were loved in congruence with how those others loved themselves, because according to our corollary, it would not have been possible for them to love you any better. Hopefully that makes sense. Did you remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm? And please see the About tab for more information on donations, consultations, and sponsorship opportunities. Thanks for your help.